Have you ever wondered why some of the hardest workers the real top performers, the ones who do everything right, just hit a wall in their careers? It's this super frustrating paradox, right? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain and figure out what's really going on. So, does this sound familiar to you? You're crushing every deadline. Your reviews are fantastic. You're the one who always takes on the toughest projects. And yet, that next step, that promotion, it just never happens. If you're sitting there nodding your head right now, trust me, you are not alone. And the reason why? Well, it's probably not what you think it is. Okay, let's make this really concrete with a quick story. So meet Ryan. He's ambitious, he's proactive, the whole deal. He actually puts together this detailed 18-month roadmap for his next promotion. He's thinking, man, my manager's gonna love this. I'm showing so much initiative. But instead of a high five, he gets crickets. The cold shoulder. See, without even realizing it, he just made a massive mistake, one that put the brakes on his entire career. And Ryan's story, that takes us right to the heart of what we're calling the high performers paradox. It's this bizarre situation where your own success, your own ambition, actually starts to work against you. You end up stuck, just idling, right at the moment you should be hitting the gas. And what do you hear when you ask about it? Oh, you hear the classic excuses, right? Oh, headcount is frozen, the timing just isn't right, we really need you in your current role, or my personal favorite, let's revisit this next quarter. These are just polite ways to brush you off. They're not the real reason you're stuck. They're just the symptoms of something much, much bigger. So what is that bigger issue? Let's go ahead and pull back the curtain, because the real barrier, it has nothing to do with headcount or budgets or timing. It's a hidden psychological tripwire, and it's something that nobody in HR is ever going to tell you about. And here it is. It's called the status threat. This right here is the key to the entire puzzle. It's that critical moment when your ambition stops looking like a good thing and starts looking like a direct threat to your manager's own position, or even just the stability of their department. And that one little shift, it changes absolutely everything. And this is where the massive disconnect happens. What you say is something like, I want to reach the next level in 18 months. You think you sound proactive, but what your manager hears is something totally different. They hear, I am a replacement cost liability. You're not a plan anymore. You're a problem. You're a ticking clock that represents the huge headache of having to replace you. Just like that, your ambition becomes their problem. And this threat, it's really working on two different levels. There's the practical, surface-level problem. Yeah, you're going to cost them money to replace down the line, recruiting, training, all that stuff. But the real danger is what's going on underneath. It's a psychological threat. You might, without even meaning to, be challenging your manager's own status as the top dog on the team. It can make them feel like you're not just climbing the ladder, you're coming for their rung. Okay, so to really get a handle on why this happens, we have to do something kind of tough. We have to completely shift our perspective. Let's step out of our own shoes for a minute and try to understand what your manager's job actually is. Now, this is maybe the single most important mindset shift you can make. Your manager is not the bad guy here. They're not a villain. They are just a rational person who is responding logically to the incentives of the system they work in. And if you want to win, you have to understand the rules of the game they're being forced to play. So what are those rules? What are those incentives? Look, you can forget all that stuff in the company handbook about mentorship and people development. At the end of the day, a manager's performance is judged on three things: departmental output, delivery consistency, and headcount stability. Now, what's not on that list? Promoting my best people. In fact, your ambition is a direct threat to that last one, stability. All right, so you figure, okay, I'll just wait it out. You put your head down, you keep working hard, and you tell yourself you're just being patient. Your turn has to come eventually, right? But while you're being patient, something else is actually happening behind the scenes. The system, in this very rational effort to contain the threat that you now represent, has quietly moved you over to the sidelines. You, my friend, are being parked. So how can you tell if you've been parked? Well, it's that classic busy work that doesn't actually go anywhere. You get assigned to really low visibility projects. Maybe you're tasked with some big archive migration or updating legacy documentation. It's anything that keeps your bandwidth totally absorbed, but does absolutely nothing to build your profile. This isn't just a slow period at work. It's a deliberate strategy to keep you contained. If any of this is ringing a bell, that is a major, major red flag. Okay, so that's the diagnosis, and I know it probably sounds pretty bleak. But here is the good news. You are not powerless in this situation. Not at all. Once you can see the hidden rules of the game, you can write a brand new playbook to win it. So let's dive into that.
It really comes down to three core strategies, three things you can do to navigate this whole status threat thing and get yourself unparked. Now, they might feel a little counterintuitive at first, but they work because they align your success with your manager's need for stability.
All right, strategy number one, stop announcing your timeline. I mean, think about it. The moment you give your manager a date for your promotion, you've basically just handed them a bill, a replacement cost estimate. So just stop. Keep your timeline to yourself. By taking that replacement cost off the table, you immediately stop being a problem they need to solve. Okay, number two, this requires a total mindset shift. For just a minute, I want you to forget about your own goals. Instead, figure out your manager's single biggest pain point. What's their biggest headache? That awful report they hate doing? That problem that keeps popping up? Find it, and then make it your personal mission to solve it. Do it quietly, do it completely. When you do that, you transform from being just another variable they have to manage into the one solution they absolutely cannot live without.
And that leads us to number three. You have to reframe your own development. So instead of saying, hey, I want to grow in this area, which is all about you, try saying something like this. You know, if I developed this skill, I could take that specific, annoying task completely off your plate. See the difference? It's a simple switch, but it's so powerful. You stop talking about what you want and start talking about how you can solve their problems. You frame your growth as their relief.
All right, so let's say you've done all this. You've neutralized the status threat, you've made yourself indispensable, you're almost there. But there is one final kind of master level move that you have to make to really, truly lock in that advancement. And here's the ultimate truth about how most big companies work. Your promotion? It's not decided in your weekly one-on-one with your boss. Nope. It's decided in a meeting room that you are not in. And if your manager is the only person in that room telling your story, you've probably already lost. You're letting them hold your entire career in their hands. So what does that mean? It means you have to solve what's called the narration problem. You have to build your own narrative, your own story. You need to gain visibility one level up. Find a reason, any reason to exist in your skip-level boss's world. Jump on a cross-functional project, volunteer to give a brief presentation. Do whatever it takes to make sure your name and your value are known by people other than just your direct manager. And all of this brings us to the final, most important takeaway of all. The system doesn't punish ambition, it punishes ambition that hasn't made itself strategically useful to the people in charge. It's not just about being the best at your job, it's about making your excellence useful to the people who actually make the decisions. When your success becomes their success, that's when all the doors magically start to open.
So I'll leave you with this one question to think about. Looking back at your career, can you think of a time when you felt like you were being parked, even though you were getting great results? Because recognizing you're in the game is always the first step to figuring out how to win it.